walked into a Woolworth's lunch counter, Woolworth store, sat down at a Woolworth lunch counter, and refused to get up and move. Inspired by Mahatma Gandhi's nonviolent protest, these 4 brave college students decided that enough was enough with hate and did what they could do. They sat in a Woolworth's lunch counter and refused to get up. While sitting at the lunch counter, later was known as the Greensboro sit-in, that there were some people that began to hurl insults at them, all because they did, watch this, something that made the haters mad. They refused to allow racism and classism in North Carolina to get in the way of becoming and doing and offering their own contribution to what is known as the modern civil rights movement. Because of these 4 brave individuals, Blair, Richmond, McCain, and McNeil, other sit-ins and protests popped up across other places in the South because those 4 individuals decided to make the haters mad. Might I submit to you, my brothers and my sisters, the last thing that the enemy wants is to have unity in the body of Christ. If the enemy has its way keeping us divided, black, white, blue, and green, rich, poor, or indifferent, if the enemy can keep us divided and separated, it feels that it has a fighting chance to win. As long as we are dislocated from one another, we cannot build new schools. As long as we are dislocated from one another, we cannot change the communities by which we live in. As long as we are dislocated from one another, we can't change a generation one person at a time. And I'm not asking somebody in the White House or the mayoral office or the governor's mansion to do it. If you really want change to start and for us to one day really come together, it's going to take some required responsibility for some church people who are unapologetic about God to declare to a crazed world, we're going to make the haters mad. We're not going to allow somebody else to steal joy and peace and hold on to me like that they have something to hold over my head. Might I pause and park parenthetically? You might have something over my head, but God is still stationary under my feet. And the only reason I have not fallen and have given up is because God has kept me in spite of myself. Is there anybody in church right now that can testify that I got some haters and some enemies in my life? And instead of trying to sign peace treaties with them, I need, and you and I both need, to go on and make them mad and keep on serving God even when stuff ain't going right. Keep on trusting God when life is still crazy. Keep on worshiping God when I lose my job, not just when I get a job. To keep on believing that God is a way maker and a keeper and a burden bearer and a heavy load sharer and a company keeper to keep on believing that God can do anything but fail. But the only reason why some of us still sit in churches with our arms folded and our legs crossed is because we done got scared to make the haters mad. Sometimes you got to be willing to tell somebody, for God I'll live and for God I'll die. Sometimes you got to be willing to stay on the battlefield until the fight is over and the victory's already been won. Sometimes you're going to have to learn how to fight and cry and cry and fight and fight and cry and believe, because somebody, and if I get on your street, just holler that you can testify that God has brought me too far for me to sit down and act like he ain't worthy. Is there anybody in Mount Calvary that showed up in church right now that says, I'll make every hater mad in my life right now, because I let the enemy know that God is still able to keep me, God is still able to provide for me, God is still able to turn my life around? Can I tell you what the devil wants you to do? Sit there and be mad. Sit there with your jaw tight. Sit there like ain't nothing happening to your life. Somebody ought to holler, he's still good, and I'll make every hater mad. Because watch this, even though you tried to tear me apart, God has been putting me back together again. Is there anybody in here know that Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall and Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again? But somebody know Humpty couldn't be put together again by the king's men. So take me to the king, because if I get in his presence, he'll put me back together again. He'll put joy back in my arms, a holler back in my voice, a dance in my feet. Gotta learn how to make the haters mad. Part of the problem is that we live dislocated so long that we've come to the idea that dislocation and dysfunction is okay.
No, it's not.
Can I tell you, dislocation is the demonic currency of the enemy. If the enemy can keep me away from God, then I can never shout about the things of God. I'm not talking about shouting on a Boo, Bentley, Benz, or Beamer, or somebody in a bedroom. I'm talking about being able to shout just because he's God. Maybe the church would be a better place if we would learn how to just shout on the name Jesus. Maybe I should not just shout because God gave me a car. If he keep letting me ride in the raggedy hoopty that I got, he's still worthy to be praised. We done messed around and had a cosmetic kind of gospel. As long as it makes me look good on the outside, that means I got the favor of God. But how many of us know in church that I still got favor and been broke? I still got favor, been to jail. I still got favor and I got problems. I still got favor and I got, what do people know they got favor on their life? I got favor, and that's how you know you got it. It ain't whether or not you got a Benz, it's whether or not you can make it when you had no work. It's whether or not you had to make it when you didn't have money to make ends meet. That's favor, because God kept you when you should have gave up. So I come to make my haters mad. I come to make every hater, oh thank you Holy God, I come to make every hater mad, because maybe part of the problem is we've been so concerned about living in our present pain that we stop believing that God can make a way out of no way. Is there anybody showed up in church that know that God can still make ways out of no way? Brothers and my sisters, Paul reminds to the church at Ephesus something that's very intricately important and in detail for you and I. Paul has spent for the first 3 chapters reminding them what God had done for them. For the first 3 chapters in the book of Ephesians, the first 3 books in the book of Ephesians, Paul reminds them what God had done for them. Now in chapter number 4, here comes the response. Watch this. What will you do for God? What will your response be? Because God has made some ways in your life. And let me submit to you in your hearing in this wonderful service today, that just because things ain't going good does not mean that God ain't there. Might I submit to you, sometimes the only time you're going to learn about God being a way maker is when you're all by yourself and you didn't have nobody around you. Is there anybody in here that knows that God can make ways out of no way? Child of God, Paul calls for them, watch this, to unification. And unification means that I have to do something about my dislocation. Can I help you? Can I help you in church? Sometimes, brothers and sisters, we're so busy trying to be dislocated because dislocation gets us attention. And sometimes the attention of the dislocation that we get is not something that we really needed in the first place. And the truth of the matter is that if you've only seen dysfunction and dislocation, how do you know that something can be better? Watch this. If you are asking other people who are just like you to make you better, newsflash, they can only make you 90% of what they are. They can never make you better than them, because let me tell you, misery loves company. You did not have to go to Yale Divinity to testify to that. Misery still loves company. There are some people that want you to stay broke. There are some people that want you to stay disappointed. There are some people that want you to stay ugly. There are some people that want to keep you in a bad situation. But will you do me one small favor and just touch yourself? Say, I'm going to make all my haters mad today. I'm going to make all my haters mad today because they thought that they were going to keep me from what God wanted to do in my life. But this joy that I have running down on the inside of me, no world gave that to me. This horror that I got down on the inside, didn't nobody do that but the Lord. I wouldn't sit there like a pompous pious peacock in a pew. Somebody ought to be able to testify He kept me. Somebody ought to be able to holler, He's made some ways for me. Somebody ought to be able to shout, I'm going to make every hater mad. I'm going to shout, I'm going to celebrate, I'm going to lift my hands, I'm going to say amen, because I'm on my way back from what I've been going through. When you look at somebody next to you and tell them, say, I'm on my way back from what I've been going through. I'm on my way back. But the challenge is, how do you and I help to make the people around us better? Because might I add to you in church today, it's one thing for you to be able to come out. But you're real dangerous when you can help somebody else come out. Oh, you didn't shout, I holler for myself right there. Every now and then you got to learn how to shout, celebrate, and thank God. Watch this, because not only is God working on me, but God is going to use me to help somebody else. Oh, come on, somebody listen. Do I have about 50 of y'all in church that will testify that, watch this, I'm so grateful that what God is going to do in my life, and I'm so bold enough to say it, that God, I ain't just going to shout for what you're doing for me. I'm going to shout for everybody that I'm going to touch. I'm going to holler for everybody I'm going to bring through. I'm going to holler for everybody I'm going to encourage. Because this joy that I got ain't just for me, it's for my neighbor. When you look at somebody sitting next to you and say, neighbor, I got enough joy for the both of us. I got enough testimony for the both of us. I got enough holler for the both of them going in there. Look at somebody next to you and say, neighbor, I got enough holler for all of us. If you don't holler, I'll holler for us both. Because God has kept me, God has provided for me, and I don't need 3 chapters of remembrance to know what He's done. I just got to look back over this morning that He woke me up, started me on my way. Let's make a man. Let's make a man. Look at the text. I'm going to hopscotch clean on in through it. Let me raise this relevant question though. How do I know, or how can God use me not only to make myself better, but better the people around me? so that we could really be better together. I ain't just talking about shouting about being better. I'm talking about living better. Okay, that's how I listen. Can somebody over here talk about? I ain't just talking about shouting about a new house. I'm talking about walking into a new house. Can I try y'all one more time? I ain't just talking about a new car. I'm talking about new car in the driveway. I ain't just talking about that God will keep me. I got evidence that God has kept me. Is there about 25 of y'all that know he kept you? I said, is there 25 of y'all in church that know God kept you? He kept me through this and that and that and this and this and this and that and all that. Number one, I need to practice personal patience. If I'm going to make some folk better around me and better myself, number one, I got to practice personal patience. I knew some of y'all wasn't going to shout in church today. This sermon wasn't for all the rest of them. This sermon was for y'all today, because somebody in church right now need to know you're going to have to practice some personal patience. Who told you? Who told you that you had to be in such a hurry? Who told you that they needed to march and move off of the beat of your drum? Child, you ain't in rhythm yourself. How you gonna call somebody else to get in rhythm and you messing around on the wrong key? Practice personal patience. I knew you wasn't going to shout right there. Look at verse number 1. It says, as a prisoner of the Lord. Paul is not writing this from a posh palatial poolside at the palace. All right. Paul is writing to the church at Ephesus, watch this, from a prison cell. And you ready for this one? He does not allow his situation to stop his destination. Yeah, that's right. He does not allow his situation to mess up his articulation. Paul says that even though I'm locked up, the most dangerous part of me is still free. God, y'all missed that. Let me come get it. We get on up out of here. Y'all can stop by and eat some food somewhere because y'all hungry. Might I submit to you, Paul may have been locked up in prison, but the most dangerous thing that Paul had was still free. They still let Paul put pen to parchment on papyrus. And what he puts on pen to parchment on papyrus is because God had already wrote the story in his mind. And because he wrote the story in his mind, Paul puts his words, his voice to paper and begins to tell the people that although I'm a prisoner, I'm still free. And I was wondering, is there anybody that showed up in church that says I'm still going through, but I am going to be free? I'm still in a bad fix, but God will bring me out. I'm still in a messed up situation. Okay, y'all bullshit. Is there 10 of y'all and I'll make number 11 that'll testify to them? I know what it's like to be in a bad situation. And the only reason why I made it is because God kept holding on to me. When you look at the person next to you and say, neighbor, he'll hold on to you. He'll hold on to you. No, you didn't look at him. Look at him and say it like you got swag. Tell him he'll hold on to you. He'll keep you. He'll hold you. He'll protect you. He'll show up in your life. Won't he do it? Then let the redeemed of the Lord make every hater mad and just tell God, thank you. Paul says, I'm a prisoner of the Lord. Then I urge you, here it is, to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Might I submit to you that every now and then you will have to practice personal patience. Isn't it easier for you to tell somebody else slow down? And you speed? Ain't it easier to tell somebody else quit doing that? And you still doing it? Ain't it easier for you to pass judgment on her? Why she sleep with him? and you still sleeping with the cousin. Ain't it easy for you to tell somebody to act right, and here you are still acting ugly? Ain't it easy for you to tell somebody stop cussing, stop drinking, and you still got a half pint of Henny messed around in the trunk of the car on the left-hand side underneath the blanket? I wish I had somebody in church that might be able, come on, don't you act like some of y'all ain't had no Hennessy. You don't like Hennessy, bumpy face. You don't like bumpy face, Crown Royal trying to make a comeback with all them flavors. Come on, when I get on your street, just pray. Child of God, might I submit to you, you need to practice personal patience. How, Brandon? Why should I do it? Well, God has given evidence that if you trust him, he'll be patient with you. Come help me, Abraham. Abraham said the Lord was patient with me. He said, because Andre, listen, God didn't just call me one time. He had to call me twice for me to do the right thing. You didn't like that one? Moses would testify God was patient with me. He said, Andre, he said, even though I ran to the backside of nowhere and made all kind of excuses why I couldn't serve God. I got a stuttering problem. I got this kind of issue. I got that kind of issue. Watch this. Moses said God was patient with me because he used me, ready for this one, to free some people that were still locked up. But I couldn't free them until God unlocked my mind. Okay, y'all didn't like that when Jonah came to me and said, Bradley, God been patient. God was patient with me because God told me in Jonah chapter 1 for me to mess around and go over to Nineveh to preach to the Ninevites to tell them that they need to repent for their bad behavior. But instead of me going to Nineveh, I boarded a boat headed to Tarsus. And not only in chapter 1, but in chapter 2, I created some problems for some people that did not even deserve to have some problems created for them. But God was patient with me. It was not a whale. Quit saying it was a whale. The Bible says it was a fish. And that fish swallowed him up. Because some of y'all in church would testify, well, that kind of makes kind of sense, because if it's a whale that swallows him up, if he's a little bitty short dude, would have been no problem. No, the Bible says it was a fish. I don't care what God did. God could have sent an inner tube for him, but somebody ought to be able to testify like Jonah that I should have been dead. What I was going through should have drowned me, but God kept me in the midst of it all. Jonah said the Lord was patient with me because when I began to talk to him and apologize to him, he allowed me to come up on the other side of what I was going through. David called me on the phone 3 ways and said, hold on, Pastor B, I need you to testify to the people that God's been patient with me too, because even though I slept with a lady that I should have never slept with, that God gave me grace and some mercy to keep on going, and he allowed me to pen the Psalm 51, have mercy on me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according to the multitude of thy tender mercies, blot out my transgressions, purge me with hyssop. My beloved brothers and sisters, all of them testified that God had been patient with them. But then Paul said, Brandon, don't forget that God was patient with me too, because I was breathing murderous threats against the church, and God should have killed me. God should have took me out, but he was patient enough with me to give me love and mercy and grace. Can I tell you all patience is? All patience really is love, mercy, and grace moving synonymously together in synchronization to help your life. I wish somebody would look at somebody else and say, neighbor, ain't nothing but patience saved me. Okay. My brothers and my sisters, please understand. Paul says, be patient. How do I practice that patience? Because in order for me to practice that patience, you ready for this one? I got to be humble. That's right. See, sometimes I can't promote me. Sometimes I got to pause and say, God, it's on you this time. Watch this. In order for me to be patient, you ready for this one? It ain't real deep. I got to be gentle. You ain't gonna shout. You ain't gonna shout right there, because a lot of us love to be abrasive because abrasive look cute. My brothers and my sisters, in other words, we've got to learn how to practice personal patience. I wondered, before I move on, anybody ever see that show, Extreme Home Makeovers? Remember that show, Extreme Home Makeovers? Watch this. They'll mess around and go to a home that looks bad on the outside. It looks raggedy on the outside. And people will walk up and they look, what are they doing? They got all these workers moving around. They got all these people doing all kind of funny things. They got all these people doing all this and that. Watch this, but the house still looks bad on the outside. Watch this, they ain't laid no sod on the outside. They ain't painted on the outside. And people will walk past it in an extreme makeover and say, all this stuff looks bad. All this stuff sounds bad. All this stuff ain't working the way that it should. But how many of us know in that show Extreme Home Makeover, they don't start making over on the outside. In order for it to be a real makeover, they start on the inside. And I was wondering, is there anybody that showed up in church today that can thank God for his patience, because I don't look like what I used to. I don't sound like what I used to. I don't dance how I used to. I don't act like I used to, because all I can tell you is God's been patient with me. Somebody ought to holler, please be patient with me, because God ain't through with me yet. We had a member, she gone home to be with the Lord. Her name was Martha, and every other Wednesday night, Miss Martha would get up and she began to testify. And Miss Martha, at the end of her testimony, would holler out, please be patient with me, because God ain't through with me yet. Child of God, that's all I came by to tell you. I can practice patience and make the hater mad, because God ain't through with me yet. Is there anybody here that know God ain't through with you? Gotta go. Number two, you ready for this one? Number two, you can help somebody else to get better. Number two, ready for this one? Ain't real deep, but it is real true. You gotta help somebody else with their luggage. Oh God, y'all miss me. Y'all miss me. Let me say it again. Number two, you want to make them haters mad? You want to help make them mad? Practice personal patience. You want to make them haters mad? Number two, you got to learn how to carry somebody else's luggage. I knew you wasn't going to shout. I knew you wasn't going to shout. Let me see that. I knew you wasn't going to shout, because here's the problem. Here's the problem. We don't want to help nobody, because we want somebody to help us. Child of God, you see the suitcase, and what do you do with a suitcase? All you do, watch this, is you carry what you have. Come on, talk back now. Child of God, you carry what you have. You carry what you got. And all you do, you just walk through the terminal. You walk, put it in the car. You walk to the hotel. You walk home. All you got to do is just watch, suitcase. And inside the suitcase, you ready for this one? It's toiletries. Come on, you got the stuff. You ready for this one? That will clean you up. Inside it, you have undergarments. You got the stuff that people don't see that's covering you. Yes, sir. Then you got some clothes that you can put on, some socks and some shoes. And most ladies look at this suitcase and say, Reverend, this ain't enough, because when I got to travel, I got to have 3, 4, 5 pair of these shoes in one of these bags. Child of God, can I help you real quick in church? You got to learn how to help somebody else with their luggage. Look at the text. The Bible says at the end of verse number 2, bearing with one another in love. How do you bear with one another lest you are carrying somebody else's go through? Child of God, how can you carry and bear somebody else's burden? Watch this until you realize that you had your own burdens to carry. And is there anybody in church that knows that sometimes the road gets rough, and sometimes the going gets tough, and sometimes the hills get hard to climb? But is there anybody in church right now that'll testify the only reason why I made it this far is because somebody helped carry me through? Is there anybody in Mount Calvary that can testify somebody else helped carry me through? Let me leave you this with brothers and sisters. Not long ago, I had traveled out of town, and when I traveled out of town, I carried my little roll bag piece with me. I carried my roll bag piece with me. Watch this. And I hopped out of the car, hopped off the plane, hopped into a car. Car took me to the hotel, messed me straight up. I got to the hotel. I had my headphones on. I was listening to something, preparing myself for what I had to go do. Can I help y'all real quick? Pulled up to the wonderful hotel. I was minding my own business. Already checked in with the mobile check-in. Praise, that is of the Lord. Praise the Lord. I checked in with the mobile check-in at the hotel. I'm telling you, that is of God. And brothers and sisters, I was on my way, pulled out my stuff, grabbed my little roll bag piece. Oh yeah, I grabbed my roll bag piece. And I had that. I had my roll bag piece. And when I had my roll bag piece, watch as a man walked up to me and said, "Excuse me, sir." He was meddling all in my Kool-Aid. I was minding my own business. I had already checked in, but I was carrying my bags with me. I was carrying my bags with me. Had to go take care of what I came to go do. I was minding my own business. This dude starts meddling with me. He says, "Excuse me, sir." I pulled back my headphone like I had a little bit of attitude in my voice, and I said, "Can I help you?" And the man said, "No, sir. Can I help you?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Sir, can I help you with your bags?" I said, "No." I said, "I think I got it." He says, "No, sir." He says, "It looks like you on a mission, and my job and part of my responsibility is to carry what you are lugging with you to make your journey a little bit easier." I asked him, I said, "Man, tell me what you are." He said, "I'm a bellhop, and all my job is to do is that when you get here to check in the rest, my job is to carry what you've been going through, what you brought with you, and what you might be dealing with inside the bag up to the room, so you don't even have to worry about carrying it." I'm out of here. My child of God, might I submit to you that every now and then we've got to learn how to be somebody else's bellhop and look at somebody that's around you, and instead of looking at them and saying, "Oh, look how sad your situation looks," you ought to look at somebody and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, sir, can I help you while you're going through?" Can we practice that in church real quick? And I promise I'm out of here. When you look at somebody and say, "Neighbor, we got to help one another out." If you want to make the haters mad, you got to learn how to grab somebody else's bag. You got to learn how to carry somebody else's load. And can I tell you where you ought to carry it to? Don't carry it to the